Experts with your hosts, Pat Loftus and Seth Keller.
Welcome back, everybody. Seth and I are joined by quite a few people tonight to celebrate the Scott Fish Bowl. It's time. It's here. I believe everyone has made at least one pick. I hope. I hope everyone's made at least one pick. I know things are moving pretty slow in some divisions, but we'll get to that in just a minute. This is the Fantasy Facts podcast brought to you by Gridiron Experts. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty_Pat. You can find Seth at FF the At Home Dad. Seth, welcome back. Hopefully you had a nice break. I know I enjoyed the week off, but it's good. It's good to be back.
Oh yeah, definitely good to be back. Excited to be back. It's great to go away for a week vacation and come back right into Scott Fish Bowl, which is like the kickoff of the fantasy season. I feel like it's like the official, like, we're here. It's time to like get into like full on redraft mindset. But like you said, Pat, we have a star-studded cast here tonight. So why don't you go ahead and introduce everybody?
Boy, that's a lot. Okay, I'll start in the top right corner here. Joined also from Gridiron Experts, we have at the FF Realist. How's it going tonight, Mike?
Not bad. Yeah, happy to talk a little bit of SFB. Happy to have a little Woodford Reserve and
boy,
pop some cast cherries, right?
That's right. Let's move around the virtual room here. Rob, I don't see are you at Rob FF Addict? Did Seth screw this one up?
That's actually his first and last name. That's his first and last name.
Yeah, my parents knew I would have problems. No, it is at Rob FF Addict. Yep. First year in the Scott Fish Bowl. Super excited about it.
Same for me.
Having a
blast.
blast.
I'm not the only rookie in here.
No, hopefully I'm not making it look like a rookie, though.
Right. And that's is it at Skip Newton 31? How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thanks, man. It's great to be here. I'm loving the Scott Fish Bowl and glad I could get on here and talk to you guys about it.
And last but not least, he's a rookie. It's his first podcast ever, I believe, is what he told us pre-show. At Sam_Graham. Sam, welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
Good, guys. How you doing? Hey. No, I'm not as classy as your Woodford. I'm drinking Jim Beam over here, so
nothing wrong with that.
I'm a JD man at heart, so.
But yeah, and my first year in the Scott Fish Bowl this year as well. So
all right. I'm glad I'm not the only rookie then.
We actually have a bit of housekeeping. So you can follow the show at GX Fantasy Facts. Skip is joining us from the NFL Draft Bible on Sports Illustrated. We have Gridiron Experts represented here. We have the FFFaceoff.com represented here. And Mike, you didn't plug this yet, which I'm a little shocked because it's such a big event happening on Friday. So why don't you take a minute right now and talk about that, Mike?
Yeah, thank you. It's year 2 of the FF Faceoff Mental Health Potathon. We partner up with Hayden Hurst and his Hayden Hurst Family Foundation. So you can go to HaydenHurstFamilyFoundation.com and get all that info there. But yeah, so really it's just going to be 24 hours starting Friday, 8 p.m. And we're going to go half hours with guests all the way till 8 o'clock the next day and try to raise as much money as humanly possible. Seth, you'll be on there. We've got Matthew Berry kicking things off. Hayden himself will be on at 1:30 with his mom, who's the VP of their foundation. It's a great list. I mean, we got, the FF Hitman, we've got Adam Rank, we've got, Steffi Smalls will be on, D-Bro. So it's a list. Field Yates will be there. It's growing and growing. So should be good time and all for a good cause. So yeah, that'll be on FFFaceoff.com. It'll be on Twitter, much like this is, and also YouTube.
It's awesome. And it just really goes with the season also of trying to, give back, give the charity, show a little bit of the fantasy community and the great things that can happen, which I think is, again, another great tie-in to the Scott Fish Bowl and, the amount of money that everybody brings together and the way that everybody comes together to support the community. So really excited for that, Mike. Yeah, I can't wait to be a part of it too. I listened to it last year. I'm excited to be on it this year. So big
It's
things.
gonna be a
I'm
good
excited.
time. Just gonna need a lot of coffee. That's all. We'll be all right.
Well, I go on. I think it's 11 o'clock at night, so I won't be drinking coffee. I'll be
No.
drinking something else to stay awake. Maybe it'll be a little Woodford. I'll join you in that.
No, I won't be doing it during the podathon. So
Maybe some Baileys in that coffee.
Yeah.
maybe. Cannot confirm or deny.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I think normally the show, we have an opening question, we have breaking news. There's not that much to talk about in terms of real life NFL news. So let's just jump right into the big question for everyone in the Scott Fish Bowl. Where is everyone picking from? Seth, you want to start us off? We'll just go around the room.
Sure. I'm in the 11th spot, which is kind of nice given the 3-round reversal. If you're not in the Scott Fish Bowl, it's one of the little tweaks that's new this year. So they do the first 2 rounds normal, and then the 3rd round, it starts at the end, which makes it a little nice. It evens the playing field a little bit between the guys at the beginning of the draft and the end of the draft. So yeah, the 11th spot, and I feel like I kind of enjoy that spot. So Rob, you're up next.
Yeah, I took the 8th spot. I also, same thing as you, I wanted that 3rd round reversal. I just wanted to make sure I was up front enough so I could get a top tier quarterback. But I've liked the spot. It's been good to me so far.
Skip.
Yeah, I chose the 5th spot. I really wanted to be near the middle. Didn't really have a preference for the ends just because you got to wait so long and those runs can just be killers. And I thought, you know what, just give me near the middle. I'll be close enough to get one of those top quarterbacks, or if someone like CMC happens to fall by miracle, I'll take him. But I was pleased with the 5th pick, and it's working out pretty well so far through 5 rounds.
Sam?
So this is my first time being in a draft with a 3rd round reversal. So I thought going in the middle would probably be a safer bet. So I ended up with the 6th pick. What I didn't realize is that I get the 6th pick in the 2nd round, the 7th pick in the the 1st pick in the 2nd round, 7th pick in the 2nd round, and then 7th pick in the 3rd round. So I think I kind of shot myself in the foot, and definitely won't be trying to go back to 6 next time. But so far I'm only through 2 picks right now, and I'm pretty pleased with where my team's at.
And I'm out of the 3 spot. I actually wanted an earlier spot. I wanted to get one of those big 3, Mahomes, McCaffrey, or Kelsey, and I was really hoping Kelsey was going to be there, and he got picked 2nd overall. So I ended up with Mahomes 3rd overall. So I'm not gonna complain about getting Pat Mahomes there at 3. But that 3rd round reversal, that was brutal. I thought I had planned and prepped for that, and it came around, and it still got me.
Yeah, I took the 11th spot. I just like number 11, to be honest with you. I do like it from a draft prospect, and also I did like the 3rd round reversal for it. I think this is like the 3rd year actually. Maybe I'm drafting with the 11th spot in SFB. So pretty interesting so far. I'm coming up soon for my 4th pick, so we'll see if maybe it will come up on the show today, but we'll see. So to me, 3rd year of doing 11th spot is just go with it. But it's you guys know this, or even if it's your first year, no SFB draft is the same. You look across Twitter and see who's going what spots, and it's like what? So it's it's hard to strategize, to be honest with you.
Every draft has been different from what I'm seeing in the 103 chat. Every draft has been completely different.
And what's interesting, and a great thing that Scott Fish does on Twitter at ScottFish24, a great thing that he does is he lets people kind of ask for positions. But due to a slight foobar on my part, I was a late addition into it. Luckily snuck in there. So I just got tossed into a spot in the 11th spot, whereas you guys are like, yeah, I picked that one. This is what I was aiming for. I was just like, yes, I'm in. Woo! And that was just exciting.
Well, I mean, he gives you the opportunity to request your spot. So just every time, I always just take 11. it was my number in flag football. It's my favorite number. Obviously, blackjack, double down. So I just translates over to fantasy. So
I almost left it blank, but then I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm gonna go in the middle. And like I said, dang it, you live and you learn, right?
I heard Scott today, right at the end of the podathon. They were talking about picking your spot, and he said, "I'll let everyone in on a little secret. It's actually easier for him and Ryan McDowell if you pick, like where you want to be. It makes it easier for them in the background." So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Little secret.
Look at all of you guys doing him a favor, right?
Yeah, that's right.
little secret tip for next year: when you fill out your sheet, make sure you put in where you want to get drafted or where you want to draft.
So, I had a question for everybody. So, did you go into Scott Fishbowl with a strategy? Were you going in and you're like, all right, I'm gonna try and hammer quarterbacks. I'm gonna try and hammer running backs. I'm gonna try and hammer this. I'm gonna do late tight end. Which it's a tight end premium league, so I don't know how many people are really attacking that. But let's go kind of back around the circle. Mike, did you have a strategy going into your draft?
This was the first year. I mean, I've got a lot going on the home front. Nothing bad, just a little hectic, with work and everything else. So this was the first year where I didn't over strategize for SFB. I didn't, this is the first I did one mock draft, and I just simply said, I'm just going to go into this and see how it plays towards me. I did make a bit of a risk that I normally don't do, which we'll get to, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of strategy this time. I wanted a running back in the first round. That much I knew, and I took care of that. So,
nice. Which running back did you get in the first?
Wound up with Alvin Kamara. So,
me too.
There you go. Cheers.
At number 11. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He went
That's
to
the thing.
fourth.
I mean,
in
so
my
many
draft.
quarterbacks went. We had like 4 quarterbacks or something like that go in the first round. And so when that sort of thing happens, Kamara can fall.
What about you, Sam? Any strategy going in?
So at the 6th round pick, at 6, I knew if I didn't get Kelsey, I needed to go quarterback. So, and obviously I knew I wasn't going to get Patrick Mahomes. I knew I wasn't going to get Josh Allen. So I was hoping for Kyler Murray, which I knew was going to be a little bit of a stretch. But luckily in my division, someone decided to pick Tom Brady at 4.
What?
Whoa.
So I'm sitting. So I see the 4th round pick, and the fifth is on the clock, and CMC and Kyler Murray are on the board. And I'm just like, oh man, if he decides to go, I can't remember who I thought, like Dalvin Cook or someone. I was like, I'm going to be just stuck with this huge decision. Do I go CMC or do I go Kyler Murray? But then luckily the 5 took CMC, or Chris McCaffrey. So I took Kyler Murray, and I'm pleased with that. That's who I was planning on walking away with. That's who I thought I would walk away with if I didn't get Kelsey. So I got my second choice, and I'm happy with that.
Nice. It's always nice when somebody helps you make your decision where you're like, man, I'm really torn between these two guys.
Right.
Oh, he took one. All right, good. I know I'm going to pick now.
Yeah, right.
This pick will be made in 1 minute.
Yeah, right.
What about you, Skip? Any strategy going in?
Like every draft or auction, I always have a strategy, and 100% of the time that strategy pretty much goes flying out the window, once things get going, because you got to adjust, you got to make changes. I was pretty set that I was going to go quarterback at pick 5, so I wasn't too worried there. The only thing that would have made me think differently, if CMC would have fallen and if Kelsey had fallen, that would have been a real tough one for me. I struggle with a tight end that early. It just, whenever I do that in mocks, I end up not liking my team. And I was actually glad when he went 3rd. I was like, okay, good. Now I don't have to have the pressure of that decision. And it got to me, and it was between Kyler Murray and I love, a little bit of Homer. I'm a Vikings fan, a little bit of love for Dalvin Cook, but I just couldn't pass on Kyler Murray. So I took him there, and then, was really thinking, like a lot of people, I think I'm gonna fade wide receiver and just, there's so many wide receivers. I want to get my quarterbacks. I want to get my running backs. If one of those top 3 tight ends slip to me in the second round, then that'll be the fastest pick in the history of the Scott Fish Bowl that wasn't on auto pick. But of course that didn't happen. Well, like I said, strategy out the window. Everybody picked running back, quarterback and tight end, the coming back to my second round pick. So I had to zag when others were zigging, and I took Tyreek Hill, the first wide receiver off the board. So there you go. I wanted to fade wide receiver, and I took it with my second pick.
And what about you, Rob?
I came in wanting to hammer out 2 quarterbacks and a tight end in the first 3 rounds. I was hoping with number 8 that one of the big 5 quarterbacks would get there. And then I was praying that Waller or Kittle would fall to me in the second. Luckily, everything played out just as I wanted it to. I was able to get Lamar Jackson, who was my ideal quarterback, with bonuses for the rushing first down, so that was perfect. And then Kittle fell in the second round, and I'm like, oh, this is golden. This is exactly what I wanted. 2 of the premium spots with the premium scoring. And then third round, I don't know how far we want to get into it, but I was tasked with a difficult one. I was staring down Ryan Tannehill or one of the big wide receivers. Chose to go Tannehill. I like it. It ended up working out nice, but that was really my first what am I going to do decision. But with Julio Jones in Tennessee and the way he can use his legs too, I really like my first 3 rounds. I got those big premium scoring positions knocked out of the way, and everything kind of flowed from there.
Nice. So I probably have the most unconventional draft so far. And it wasn't necessarily a strategy that I was going in with. I was definitely thinking, I want to make sure I get a big name quarterback if I can, but I don't want to reach for anything. I really want to see how the draft is going to fall. I also knew that running backs were going to kind of fall a little bit. So I was like, I want to make sure I lock up those running back positions. And through 5 rounds so far, I haven't touched a quarterback yet. I also haven't touched a tight end yet. I have Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Cam Akers, Calvin Ridley, and Justin Jefferson. And so I feel really good about that.
I dig it.
It's now just a matter of, can I get lucky on quarterbacks that are coming back around? And what's nice is I gambled at this last turn because most people already have 1, if not 2 quarterbacks. There's a couple teams with 3 quarterbacks, or 1 team with 3 quarterbacks. And so far in the 5th and 6th round, only 2 quarterbacks have been taken. So I'm hoping that over the next 8 picks that either no more quarterbacks go or only 1 or 2 quarterbacks go, so I can try and either press my luck again, because why not? It's for charity, right? Or maybe double tap quarterback on the way back through. But wasn't exactly what I was planning in terms of a strategy, but I'm really liking the way that it's shaken out at the moment.
Yeah, I was hoping Kelsey would be there at 3, just tight end premium and everything that Kelsey has to offer in real football and fantasy football. I was really hoping he'd be there at 3. Don't get me wrong, Pat Mahomes was a hell of a consolation prize at 103, because in none of the mocks I had done was Mahomes there at 103. So I was looking at going, tight end and then hammering quarterbacks in the 2nd and 3rd round. And that all changed when Mahomes was there. So snapped up Mahomes, and then coming back, Waller was gone, Kittle was gone. It's a little run on running back, so I missed out on, Kamara and Eckler. They went 8 and 9 right before me. So I actually did what you did, Skip. I took the first wide receiver off the board, and I paired up Mahomes with Tyreek Hill. And to me, that was I was a no-brainer, just because of the value that he brings for a deep threat and everything else Tyreek Hill brings to fantasy football and real football. And went with another quarterback after the 3rd round reversal because I wanted to lock up 2 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds. And I took Stafford at 310, and I was pretty pleased with that because I like Stafford. I'm a Lions fan. I got to see him play 10 plus years here in Detroit, which was awesome. I think he's going to do good things in LA. So I'm happy to have Stafford back on a fantasy football team, and no qualms picking Stafford there because, again, two of my guys, Akers and Najee Harris, were sniped in the 2 picks before me. So that kind of changed my whole dynamic because I wanted to snag that second quarterback now that my other running back targets were gone.
And I personally believe that Matt Stafford right now has the best receiving core he's had since Calvin Johnson. So,
yeah, that's fair. I mean, considering it was only Calvin Johnson for a few years here in Detroit.
And not saying Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones weren't good, but just like
They're
as
not.
an average, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are a bit better.
Exactly.
I mean, he did have the one season where Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, they were both. I want to say they were
adequate.
They both had
adequate.
They both had good finishes
Yep.
on the year, but I definitely think having Kupp, having Woods, having
Higbee, having Akers, it's the best offense he's ever been on.
That's what I mean. And Matt Stafford has proven that he's able to sustain multiple receivers. So I'm actually super high on Robert Woods this year, personally.
So is there anybody that's coming up over the next couple rounds that you're like, I'm really excited about? And if you don't want to give it away just in case somebody's going to listen to it before your next pick, like, is there like a prototype of a guy that you're like, based on where I'm at right now, I'm really excited for this player to come back to me?
Excited? I don't know if excited is the word, but definitely hesitant. We are all the way down in the 7th round already. We just turned the 7th round corner. So
nice.
I don't have my second running back yet, so I'm a little – I had the same thing Skip wanted to, and I wanted to fade wide receiver. In the 5th round, it actually came up. I had gotten Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 4th, and I was stuck between DeAndre Swift, who, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm a huge fan of him. But there was Allen Robinson, and I was like, there's no reason he should be left on the board, especially with the first down scoring. I think he had the 6th most first downs last year. So here I was tasked with staring down my whole draft strategy in the face in the 5th round. Do I go with my boy DeAndre Swift and stick with the fading of the receivers, or go Allen Robinson? And I went Robinson. But now I'm just praying that some of these running backs fall to me in the 7th, which hasn't been going exactly to plan.
It's interesting it's interesting that you say that you were choosing between a running back and Allen Robinson, because I just made my 5th round pick right before we got on, and I had the same dilemma. I ended up taking a running back. I took Myles Gaskin, my 3rd running back of the draft, but Robinson is the best wide receiver out there. So I'm kind of hoping that he slips around the turn, and I can get him coming back in the 6th round, because the value there is awesome. And who knows when Justin Fields becomes a quarterback, that could really be a big connection. I think at this point, when you ask, what are you excited about? For me, it's time to start shooting for the stars with these picks, where you get a pretty nice base with the guys you've taken so far. I really got to start shooting for ceiling. So anybody that I think could possibly, have that breakout season and become, awesome, that's the guy I'm gonna probably take a shot at more than others, just because that's the only way you win a tournament like this.
So that was my biggest question so far, and it's the 4th round is the 403. I wanted to get a tight end because, again, the big 3 were gone. Kelsey, Waller, Kittle were gone. So I'm back and forth between Hawkinson and Pitts, and back and forth. And I went with the guy who I thought had the higher ceiling, and that's Kyle Pitts. I think he's a great – and I have to say, I had to switch my thinking from dynasty into seasonal, because this is a seasonal league, and it's okay, is he going to be that guy that everybody wants him to be? And the ceiling is definitely there. And again, you've got to make some bold decisions and go out and get your guys. And I went out and got Kyle Pitts at 403, and that was the toughest choice for me so far. And we're only 4 rounds in. We're about to make the 4-5 turn. So I've got a long way to go coming back at the 5-10. And I don't have a single running back on my team.
You
Man,
over your
I feel good
Lions
about
tight
that.
end?
Well, it's more Jared Goff than
Yeah,
anything else.
I hear you.
So
That's true.
Hawkinson will more than likely be the target leader for the Lions this year.
Yeah,
Goff
go
is
ahead.
just not. Goff is not Matt Ryan. I can't believe I'm
True.
saying that, but Jared Goff is not Matt Ryan. So I'll take Pitts, who has heavy draft capital, has a quarterback who can legitimately get the ball to him. So yeah, I'll take my chance at Kyle Pitts with especially with the tight end premium scoring.
Yeah, I mean, as far as what I'm looking for, my next pick, I mean, this is what I did, which is kind of different than what I always do. Is when I got to me with the second pick of the second round, you'll see on my title there, there's at the FF Realist. You can find me on Twitter, but it also says drafted Diggs the highest. And I decided, usually I always go running back. Sometimes I'll go running back, quarterback, but you shoot for your guys, and I have Diggs ranked as my number one wide receiver headed into this year. I think that he'll be the number one guy. So I said, you know what? Rather than overthink it, rather than just go with this, rather than go through the motions, screw it. Let's, YOLO. So I went Stephon Diggs. So when it comes back around, I got some guys in the UK. I'm in the Beatles division. I should have known this when I picked the Beatles division that I would be in there with some UK guys. So it's currently 2:26 a.m. there now. So I'm thinking I might wake up to be able to pick. So really, it's going to be looking for a second quarterback or a second running back. I mean, I started off with Kamara. I took Diggs, and then this morning I woke up and I drafted Jalen Hurts. So I've got one of each right now. No tight end. So just kind of going to, again, just see where the draft takes me. That's what you got to do a lot of times with these SFB drafts. It's just rather than overthink it, just go with the flow, see what comes to you, make the best decision. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, last year I had Devontae Adams as my number one wide receiver before the season. And so when Scott Fishbowl happened, I took him and Julio Jones as my first two. I was at the 12 spot, and everybody else was like, what are you doing taking wide receivers? You got to go running back. And I mean, I ended up finishing out the season I finished back-to-back years now in the top 100 people. And so like I've made it a bunch of times through by not always doing the most conventional thing. And
right.
I mean, Pat will remember this one. CJ Uzoma.
Yep.
Was my
He's
starting. He was my
he's a recurring
starting
joke on this show.
Yeah. Because I waited till like the 18th round to pick a tight end in a tight end premium league, and it was CJ Uzoma, who granted had 2 good weeks, and then died on a hospital bed, I'm pretty sure, for the season. But now he's back. So
that goes to your point though, because one year I started off one of these SFB drafts, and I think I wound up with like Kelsey and Kittle or something like I wound up with something crazy. And I was like, this is great, tight end premium. I sucked that year. It was awful. I was an abomination. So, so going with that flow that everybody wants you to, it doesn't always pan out. So
yeah,
good for you.
Yep. Sometimes you got to be a little contrarian. I think it was Skip that said it earlier. When everybody else is zigging, you got to zag in order to try and stay ahead of the curve, because otherwise you're just getting you're basically picking up all the scraps that everybody else is laying down with. If everybody's taking all the quarterbacks in the first round and you're stuck now, do I go Kamara or Saquon or I mean, even like Henry was there, who I'm a little bit lower on, but like a lot of people are super high on him. Do you take a top 3 running back or do you take a top 8 quarterback? It's a tough decision, but I think it's the running back there.
You want to be the one starting out the runs. You don't want to be caught in the middle or back end of a run. You want to be the guy that starts it off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely the case, because otherwise you're letting them kind of dictate your pick versus the other way around, where you're the one, kind of making other people make decisions they maybe don't want to make.
I actually have used starting making a run to work in my favor. I'll take a wide receiver now, start a run of wide receivers so I can get my running back, because they all get nervous because someone's missing.
What I'm hoping, I'm looking at, the grid for, I'm in the Joplin division, so I'm looking at the grid here going, I see two teams that have no quarterbacks, and I got four teams that only have one quarterback. Like, there has to be a run on quarterbacks coming. So that bodes well for me needing running back. So looking at going, all right, maybe I'll get a couple. I've got 4 or 5 guys in mind coming back here at 5'10" and 6'3", and I'm hoping they're there, and I can snag 2 running backs in the 5th and the 6th, and be happy because I'm getting 2 of my guys.
Yeah, but I mean, for quarterbacks, I think that's definitely true. But with how many running backs you can start in this league, man, I was looking at my turn because you can start like 5 running backs,
5 or 6.
Yeah,
I think it's 2
something
to 6.
crazy. Yeah. So I'm looking at I'm in the 8th spot, so I have 4 teams behind me, and then the reversal. So 4 teams picking twice, and 3 of these teams 2 teams had 2 running backs, a third had 3. So I'm like, okay, I'm golden. There's no way 2 or 3 running backs are coming off the board in these 8 picks because they're already loaded up. Mm-hmm. Some of them didn't even have quarterbacks. Some of them didn't have tight end. So here I'm thinking, and then boom, 4 running backs. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. You got like 4 running backs. But like that's what Skip said. You gotta zig when others are zagging, and they thought they got better value out of that spot. But that really left me in a bind. And I remember sitting in the 6th round, and I was staring at Julio Jones versus Myles Gaskin, Mike Davis, some of these guys that kind of back end RB2 range. And I'm thinking, can I really pass on Julio Jones for those guys? Because I mean, Julio's upside, and that goes back to what Skip said too. I mean, you got to start shooting for the stars. And if Julio is right, you're getting a top 15 wide receiver, I think. And I had Tannehill, so I was like, I can't pass stacking these guys. So I went Julio, but then there I went 2 wide receivers back to back when I was trying to fade them, and now all of a sudden I'm wondering when I'm going to get my second running back, which I wanted done in the 5th round. So yeah, you just gotta adapt a little bit. It's nice to have a strategy, and for the most part, you can usually work that strategy in the first 3 rounds. But after that, the draft is going to get you, and then you got to be able to adapt on the fly. So it's been a lot of fun, but I hate having that running back spot open because I think I'm like everybody. We all want that. There's not a lot of guys out there, and it's nerve-wracking to see that open spot in my lineup right now.
Well, and especially like you just said, you're looking at, again, I'm looking at teams where I'm the only team without a running back, right? Everyone else has at least 2. Some people have 3. There's no way they can take another running back. And sure as shit, I'll wake up tomorrow morning to see a run of like 4 or 5 running backs.
And then I think you almost get to the point where you say to yourself, well, how long can I wait?
Correct. Yeah.
Right, because we got a team that has 0 quarterbacks, and I'm just waiting every round.
Seth, you have no quarterbacks.
Round that's about to be round 6, and I still haven't taken a quarterback yet. And I was one of those teams where it's like,
I'd have
this
too much
guy's already
doing
taken.
That. Bless your heart, Seth.
I posted in I was like busy with Zoom calls today, so I posted in the group chat, sorry for the delay, and then I sent the gif from South Park where Randy's walking around with his balls in a wheelbarrow, and I'm like, sorry, it takes me a while to lug these things around after I just went through another turn of no quarterback, and like it's.
So now do you find yourself saying, well, how long can I go? I mean, how long can I push this?
Yeah, I mean, right now, and the one guy that I was like, I'm going to go with was Tua, and Tua literally just got picked up. I just looked at it and looked at the grid again, and he just got picked up about 5 picks in front of me. So it's like, do I stretch for Derek Carr now, who's a guy that it's going to be a question in a moment? Do I stretch for Derek Carr now and basically go, well, man, Derek Carr could be good? Or do I go, let me try one more round?
Push the envelope a little more.
I'll do one more. I'll do one.
He's going to do one.
And this is the reason why I don't drive when I go out, because it's like I can do one more. I can drink one more. Come on.
Better yet, I'll take two. You know?
Yeah.
Shout out to Skip coming in too from Fat Poust. So shout outs to Skip. What's up? How you doing?
Hey man,
Sure.
what's up?
Sure as shit, a pick just came across another running back.
Another running
And the run begins.
And
So-
I'll just take another tight end. Fuck it.
So that was one. That was
Go ahead,
one
Rob.
question I was going to ask. Being in my first, is it viable? Is it a good idea to double up on tight ends? I mean, I know we got these big tight end premium scoring, but do you guys often see double tight end? I know in our 1.08, Kelsey actually fell to one guy in there, and he ended up getting Kittle in the second. So here he is sitting with Kelsey and Kittle. And I'm like, you know what? I can dig that, but obviously those guys aren't there anymore for me. But it's still a question. I wonder, like with the tight end premiums, is starting two tight ends on a weekly basis viable? I mean, it's not something we would ever consider in redraft with traditional scoring.
It's definitely an option to do, but I mean, it's like I said earlier, I started off an SFB draft with those guys, and I thought, man, I'm going to clean up, man. I'm going to, and I stunk. It did not
What the
work.
hell did you do with the rest of your draft?
Well, I don't remember. I blocked it from my memory. So, but I'll say this: I know my tight ends did damn well each week when Kittle was healthy. But beyond that, yeah. So, I mean, I think
it was trash.
Yeah, it's, right. A cool concept to try, but I wouldn't do it again. I mean, I'd like to get I would say this, I would try and get one of the better tight ends, maybe not one of the top 3 or top 2, but get one of the better tight ends and then wait a little bit longer and then take a flyer on somebody. And then maybe that guy becomes one of those stars every week. That's how I would approach it. That's probably how I will approach it.
And
I heard actually Scott Fish talked about that this morning too. And he said he likes to load up on tight ends, not necessarily like top heavy, but he'll get a few of them because of the floor in the scoring system is pretty nice. He goes, it only takes a 4-catch, 40-yard day, with the first down bonuses, and you get at least a double-digit scoring. And there are weeks when that's all you need to get you through those bye weeks or injuries or whatever. So it's not something I've ever employed. I tend to fade tight end in redraft leagues unless I can, one falls to me that's just a can't pass thing. But even today, I was driving back from up north, long car ride this morning by myself and listening to the podathon, and I'm like, okay, my 4th round pick's coming up, and Hawkinson's there. He's the 5th, the 5th tight end. Pitts had already gone; he had gone in the 3rd round, and I'm like, I think of all the tight ends left, he has the highest ceiling. Like there is a chance, there is a narrative that he could catch, a lot more passes and just make that next leap up to where he's up there with the top guys. And no other tight end, I think, reasonably has that. So I was pretty much locked in on I'm taking Hawkinson in the 4th if he gets to me. And sure enough, my pick comes around. I get to my destination and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna check the board one more time just to make sure. And there's J.K. Dobbins sitting there, and I'm like, oh, and I'm going Dobbins. So I did it to myself, and that's the one decision so far that if it doesn't turn out, I'm gonna look back on and be like, man, why didn't I just stick with Hawkinson? But we'll see what happens.
I told myself I was going to get one of the big 5 because I'm including Pitts and Hawk in those grouping with Kelsey, Waller, and Kittle, and I wanted one of those 5. And after that, there are, a half dozen or so guys tight ends that should be around in the later rounds that I have no problem stacking, 2 or 3 more tight ends and just seeing what happens. And if they pop, like you said, with the scoring, 40 catches, 40 yards, maybe a touchdown, maybe some first downs, they're startable. They're double-digit points every week. So I'm definitely rolling out Pitts every week, but also looking at some guys in the later rounds that I think can and will produce, especially with the premium scoring format.
What do you think? Should we give out some of our favorite sleepers, or we want to keep those secrets on the tight ends?
I'm with you, Mike.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe if you could just write them in the chat, we could look at that.
I mean, two things that I want to make sure we address real quick. One, Rob brought it up a little bit earlier about getting the stack. And Sam, we haven't talked too much in a little bit, so I'm going to throw this one to you right away. What are your thoughts on stacking? Are you going after a specific stack now that your draft board is kind of set up a little bit? What are we can touch on just a little bit, but what are your thoughts on stacking in this type of format? In best ball, it's one of the things you hear about all the time is you always want to stack your quarterback and at least one wide receiver or tight end or something like that. And something like this, are you aiming for that? Are you a little more hesitant? What are you thinking, Sam?
So I always love a good stack. It's something I aim for in typical drafts. The one stack I was going for, and because I got Kyler Murray in the first, I skipped it, was going to be a Tannehill A.J. Brown stack. Because I know everyone's excited about Julio Jones, but I do believe that A.J. Brown will be the better, higher finished receiver in this season, personally. Otherwise, yeah, I'm a big fan of stacks. I have Kyler Murray, and the first receiver went off the board at 301, and we're still sitting on pick 302. I think the person has 45 minutes left in there before they auto pick. But so I know DeAndre Hopkins is on the board, and a Kyler Murray and Nuke stack. I won't be sorry about that. But also, I'm a huge Stephon Diggs fan. I was at the Minneapolis Miracle game, so I love my 14. And so, I'm going to be really looking, if they make it to me, I'll be really looking at Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, trying to decide if I want to go with the quarterback receiver stack or if I want to go with the receiver that I agree has probably some of the highest potential to end up as wide receiver 1 this year.
Nice. Anybody else on the stacks?
I think you almost have to in this type of format. I think it's a necessity. I mean, especially once you get to the playoffs, you're looking for those big boom weeks, those weeks where you can get way up here. And the best way to do that is, I mean, we all remember Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs going crazy in the playoffs last year with those 3 touchdowns. I think you got to do it. I think it's something you got to look at. Obviously, you got to pick your battles. Carr and Waller is a really nice stack that you can get a little bit cheaper quarterback-wise. But I think it's definitely something you got to be eyeing up. And I would, I'm open to reaching for it a little bit. I mean, I know that's a dangerous word to say in a fantasy football draft, but I think you definitely got to be keeping your eye out for it. And that was one of the things with Julio when he was there in the 6th. I was like, there's no way I can pass this up. I mean, we get into the playoffs, Julio can go for 30 points any week as long as he's healthy. So, I'm all for it. I think it's a necessity, especially if you got one of those big 5 quarterbacks like Pat got with Mahomes and Hill. That can be a week winner right there on the right week. So
that's what I'm hoping for.
Absolutely.
Okay, 5 will go Hopkins. Okay.
yeah, I think you.
And if I can somehow get Woods or Kupp to pair with Stafford, maybe do a little double stack there, or maybe even get Higbee in one of the later rounds to do a little quarterback tight end stack. I'm all for stacking as well. I might not reach, Mahomes and Hill the 210. I felt like I loved it. That was probably a less than 5-minute pick for me. Now looking at the makeup of my team now, taking Kupp or Woods at 5'10 when I know I need running backs, probably not going to happen, right? Those are picks I'm looking at later on, especially with Higbee. But I'm all for stacking wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, quarterback, whatever I need to do. But yeah, I will probably be doing some sort of double stack here with Mahomes, Hill, and then Stafford and player to be determined, probably based on value.
If you ended up with Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback to stack with him as well.
From I'm not so Lions fan here. I fucking hate you Vikings and you Vikings fans. So there you go. I watched Cousins play in college at Michigan State. I fucking hate him, but he does well in this format. He's a really, really good Scott Fishbowl quarterback. I see.
Not sexy, but he works.
No, exactly. He is like your safe floor. You're probably easily to predict ceiling. You know what you're getting from him every week, and it's infuriating because I fucking hate him.
That's how we feel as Vikings fans.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here, man.
I can only imagine how you guys feel about me being a Packer fan. Like, I've been on top of you guys for years over here.
Yeah, we heard
who invited this
you Scotty.
Yeah. Rob has left the chat.
Man.
Oh, come on. Hey, who knows if we got Rodgers this year, right? I mean,
You have.
yeah, we're going to have Rodgers.
Yeah.
Week one. There's no
Vikings
question
fans
about
don't have
it.
you Vikings fans don't have to worry about it because I can just remind Rob of the NFC Championship from 2 years ago with San Francisco, and we can talk about how that game went.
Hey,
You know.
I'm just happy we get to play Jared Goff twice a year now.
I
Now,
always
Seth,
enjoyed that.
Seth, you understand that if you want to set up a stack, you actually have to draft a quarterback, right?
He's going Jerry Jeudy and Teddy Bridgewater.
There it is.
What if I just take guys like Taysom Hill, who's like a wide receiver, running back, gadget player, anyways,
The epitome of the super flex.
quarterback.
That actually, what is he? He's got to be a quarterback in this.
Is he
league,
like
right?
ESPN where he's a tight end again? Because then yes.
All right. And just I don't know, maybe one more quick fun question, and then we'll wrap it up with one more serious one. So kickers, are you guys never picking them or just not gonna pick them at all?
Oh, this is. I totally want
Is
to.
this the,
I
wait,
mean,
is this,
Oh,
is
I'm
this the
getting
fun
kickers.
question or the
Yeah,
serious
I mean,
question? Which
this
one
is-
is this?
this is serious, man. This is serious. If you got to start 3 flex, when you start getting down to wide receiver 50 and all that stuff, I mean, you start talking about Justin Tucker, Harrison Butker. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about 10, 12 points guaranteed every week. You are not getting that out of your typical flex plays like Marquise Valdez-Scantling. He's a possible flex play, right? But, I mean, if you want a floor, Butker, Tucker, these guys are going to give you a floor. And, I mean, Jason Sanders last year from Miami, he dropped a couple of 15-plus point weeks last year. So I think kickers, I'm excited to see what happens in my draft. But if they start falling, I think I'll be more prone to grabbing I mean, I don't want to start 2 kickers, but one guy that can give you a nice, safe floor out of one of your 3 flex flats. I think it makes sense. You know you're going to get 8 to 12 points if you got a good one.
Listen,
I'd take Tucker over
I'm-
Marquise Brown.
Yeah. Well,
Ooh.
maybe unless you're playing in the last few weeks, then you take Marquise Brown.
Then you got to go up.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, it's always it's the cliche thing to do. Kickers don't matter. Kickers stink. Ha ha ha. You know, the kickers are the ones with the pocket protector and calculator in their pocket. But I mean, kickers matter, man. And Scott found a way. Scott always finds a way to do these wrinkles. And you know, I know I said I've been in SFP for a few years, and the coolest thing about it is every year there's a new wrinkle. There's something new, and kickers is new. And you know, Rob's bringing up a good point, man. You get to the bottom of the barrel, some of those wide receivers or some of those running backs. Are we really gonna, with the way the kicker scoring is set up? Kickers matter in this league, so. You know, some people can, you know, act cool and wear their Jenko jeans and say, you know, I'm going to this and kickers don't matter. But you might lose some weeks to a kicker. And if you do, shame on you. I'm going to draft
it's
a kicker at some
happening.
point.
Consider
Kicker or
this.
2.
Consider this scenario for a second. We're in the middle of the season. You're in, bye week hell. Maybe you've had an injury or two, and your second quarterback is a questionable starter. He's not having a good season, and he's got a tough matchup. You can go with him, or you can go with a kicker. The quarterback might literally score negative points if he has a bad game in the scoring system, whereas the kicker, unless they have a really bad day, is probably going to get you you could get at least 8 to 10 points.
It's going to be hard for
Man,
a kicker to get negative points here.
Well, you can miss. You get negative points for
miss
missing
everything.
stuff if they have a bad. Trust me, a Vikings kicker can miss enough kicks to get negative points.
I had to pull up the scoring to see that. I had to make sure what the scoring was for kickers, and minus 3 points for a missed field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
if you go
a 1 for
if
3
you go-
day, you're losing.
Yeah.
But
unless your one made field goal is like a 65-yarder.
Oh yeah.
And then you get 6.5 for the made field goal, but then you've missed 2 and you have a 0.5 game. And like I think we're really overvaluing what we think the floor can be for some of these kickers. Like, yes, a guy, you take somebody like Bucker, right? Like, you expect the Chiefs to score, 4 or 5 touchdowns, which would mean like 4 or 5 extra points. But if that's all the work he does, that's 4 or 5 points, and that's his floor. And would I rather have that or the potential to play a third wide receiver that, has been moving up in the middle of the season?
It's going to be interesting.
I get it.
It really is.
How many, between running backs and wide receiver, we're out to like 100 for positional players by the time everybody sets their lineup. So when you're talking about, when you take quarterbacks out of it, you're talking about starting the 96th player, right, on the rankings. They could get you 0 points. Who is that? If you're gonna, it's not something I do in the playoffs, but during the week or during the regular season, when you're just not looking to lose, as long as you got one of those big guys that you can trust. Because I'm with Seth here. You don't want to be rolling the dice on a kicker from a crappy offense, but the top 5, I think they'll give you something that maybe wide receiver 70, can't, because these starting lineups are huge. They're huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 kickers last year finished in the top 124 points in this scoring system.
And the last thing I'll say about kickers is, like, if you're, we talked about, whatever draft you're in, you're taking gambles, you might miss out on a position. Well, if you draft a good kicker, that might be able to make up the difference of you neglecting a position. Listen, maybe not quarterback the way Seth is just drunkenly ignoring it, but to somebody else, it could make the difference. Like, Pat, you saying all the running backs flying off the board. Well,
yeah,
maybe a good top-notch kicker could,
offset having to start running backs on a running back by committee every week.
Possibly, yeah.
That's a good point. Mike, you've kind of started to change my mind on kickers here.
I got you.
Doesn't mean I'm going to draft one, but I might think about it now.
I don't necessarily want to be at the beginning of that run. I can wait until later and grab a kicker or two.
Yeah. I feel like they're going to get. I feel like the kickers are going to be either one, not drafted at all, which is going to make them worth some kind of value late in the draft, or they're going to be overdrafted to the point where it's like you're going to take the 20th kicker, and I'll take a running back that has a pathway to success, or I'll take I'd rather take a guy like Chris Evans over some of the kickers because he has a pathway to huge success. If anything were to happen to Joe Mixon, which we have, countless years of things happening to Joe Mixon, I'd rather aim for that upside rather than the weather seems to be good. This seems to be a defense that's going to keep them out of the end zone, but not stop them from moving because they still need to move the ball to get into field goal position. But it's worthless if they get so good at moving the ball that they get into the end zone. So I want it to be just good enough. And then I need to pull the grass up and drop it and see what the wind conditions are. And then, yes, this kicker might have a good game.
It's funny. I think that's what you're going to end up doing with your quarterbacks.
Right?
Yeah.
Me personally,
dude, you're talking about you're talking about stretching for Derek Carr. I mean, what's the difference? Stretching for Derek Carr, stretching the kickers, What are you doing?
I thought he was just describing the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
I actually like what Skip said, though. I think I will draft the kicker and throw him on my bench each week if I have a huge rash of injuries. I think that'll give you a nice little. I'm kind of in between what Seth and Skip said here. Yeah, you don't want to start them because they don't have that upside. But if you have 2 or 3 injuries, I think you can feel safe or a little bit safer with them than a waiver wire pickup in such a big league. It'll be interesting though. I've seen in one of the other leagues at my draft spot said the Falcons kicker went in round 7, something like that, which is
Yeah, it was
probably
early.
a little high, but
Well, somebody took the Falcons kicker in the first round because they raised over $1,000 for charity.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
is that
saw
what
that
it was?
too.
And, yeah, I don't
Oh, that's
remember.
cool.
I don't remember who. I mean, it was early yesterday when this happened. But I remember seeing it, going, "What in the hell?" And then I read the backstory. And he raised a bunch of money for charity and said if he hit like $1,000, he was going to do it. So, good on you for whoever you are. I forget.
That's
You're
awesome.
Too lazy to look it up. Good on you for 1, raising the money, and 2, sticking with it and drafting the Falcons.
yeah, that's sticking with it is the good part. That's awesome. I didn't see that part, but that's cool.
Yep, Young
that's great.
Hoku.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the kicker.
Which,
Yeah.
if you're really into kickers, was it Youngwei Koo has the coolest kicking video out there, where he puts the football down in between his feet, kicks it up so it spins, and then kicks like a 40-yarder.
Listen,
Like the ball just spinning on the ground.
people on Twitter get all hot and bothered by running backs running cone drills and pictures of their quads. So those videos might mean something to somebody. Just
I have to go
saying.
back and find that one.
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
Send it to me, please.
The kicker conversation went way further than I thought it was going to. I might take a kicker.
Seth, the reason why the kicker conversation went on longer than you thought, because kickers matter.
No quarterbacks, no kickers. That's Seth's strategy.
only playing running backs and wide receivers.
No one,
and CJ Uzomah. That's it. That's all I need.
no
It's
one,
like
no
the
one
scene from The
routinely, no one routinely throwing or kicking a ball will be on Seth's roster. Zero tolerance.
Oh, you can still take Taysom Hill then.
Hey!
Done.
That's where we need to up our game a little bit too, Mike. I need to get the drops in there so I can be like,
There you go.
all right. Well, guys, this was a lot of fun. I want to thank everybody for being on. I want to make sure everybody knows where they can go to check out Scott Fishbowl. You should definitely be following Scott at ScottFish24. Go on to scottfishbowl.com. Use the hashtag SFB11. He does amazing things every year. Fantasy Cares is where you want to be to make sure you're donating. If you haven't donated already, please do so. There's a lot of people doing some amazing things this year about donating per win or per loss or drafting a kicker in the first round. All really amazing things. And that's so much of what Scott Fishbowl is all about, is really that giving and that charity and that philanthropy. So please make sure you're doing that. If you're in the league, be a part of it. Even if you're not in the league, reach out to people like ViridianGlobal.com. They make awesome t-shirts like this guy right here. You can get a little bonus if you use FAX as the promo code. You can save 10% at checkout, but they've raised thousands of dollars to be able to donate to Fantasy Cares as well by partnering with Scott Fish to make so many great t-shirts that are part of Scott Fish, but also, paying homage to the album covers of all the bands that people are loving in the setup. So be sure to do those things. Go and follow Viridian Global. Go and follow Scott Fish. Be a part of that community because it's a great community, and that's what it's really all about.
You've all treated me very well.
All right.
I mean, you made fun of my take on quarterbacks, so I don't know. I don't know if we're friends yet, Sam.
This is my first and last time on this podcast.
Get your shots in now.
Yeah,
Right.
and you're a Vikings fan, so I don't know if Pat's gonna like that or not.
No, not at all.
Man.
All right, I got Skip on my back.
You're all
Just,
more than
just
welcome.
know that
More
if
than
my
welcome.
Lions beat you at all this year, you're never going to hear the end of it.
And you know what? I'll take that because that's not happening.
In the season of Scott Fishbowl, if the Lions beat the Packers, I'll give $50 to charity. Your choice.
All right.
All
I'll
right.
I'll match that with the Lions with the Vikings.
All right.
Beautiful. See that? What was I just saying about charity and community?
People helping
guys? Look at you guys.
People helping people.
Yeah. All right.
That's
Let's
right.
go. Let's go around the table one last time. Tell the good people listening where they can find you. And yeah, we'll close out on that. Rob, why don't you start us off?
All right. Well, I'm at a couple different spots. I'm with at Fantasy Face Off, going for 2 Fantasy 6-pack, and just started as a fantasy correspondent with Fantasy Pros. But you can find me at RobFFAddict on Twitter.
Skip.
Yep, my name's Skip Newton at SkipNewton31 on Twitter. I'm one of the Devy writers for SportsIllustrated.com, the NFL Draft Bible, and then I also co-host the Devy Happy Hour.
Sam?
I'm Sam Graham. You can find me at Sam Graham with _Graham with 2 M's. I'm just getting my feet wet in all of this, and am just testing the waters, getting into the industry. I got some good takes though, so you should definitely follow me.
Like it.
Go.
And Mike?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at the FF Realist. More importantly, because again, we do have that mental health padathon coming up this weekend. Well, Friday at 8 p.m. Gonna go full 24 hours. It's gonna be pretty interesting. But yeah. So more importantly than following me, go to fffaceoff.com. Follow the links to the mental health padathon. You can donate right then and there. It's all going to GoFundMe, which will go to Hayden Hurst and his Hayden Hurst Family Foundation, which helps with suicide prevention. And if we can't get together for something like that, with just community, like you said, Seth, we all get together for many things. This is a great thing to get together for. So it'll be a good time. We'll talk mental health. We'll talk football. It'll be a good time. So definitely check it out this weekend.
Definitely.
Yep.
Awesome. Good stuff. Pat Loftus, you can find me at Dynasty_Pat. Been doing the show and a show with Seth for 4 years now.
Yep.
Been a long time. Covered Gridiron Experts, FFD 260. Now back with Gridiron Experts. So it's all come full circle.
Look at you, Pat. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you weren't supposed to be part of the table going around doing your own outro, but
Hmm.
that was for the guests. But
I felt like doing it anyway. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've said anything. I like hearing my own voice. Shut up.
All right, Seth, your
Let him
turn.
have it. Let him have it.
Oh, you see, now I'm on the. This is what Pat does to me. At the
I
end
love
of the
it. It's
show.
so fun to do this,
Puts
though.
me on the spot. I'm like, damn it, I don't know what my Twitter handle is, which is actually what the foo bar was with Scott Fishbowl. But anyways, you can find me at FF the At Home Dad on Twitter.
You did it. Yeah.
I did it. Yeah, it's because it's on the screen. It makes it really easy. You can follow the show at GX Fantasy Facts. Make sure you check out Viridian Global. Use the promo code FACTS. That's FAQS. You can get all your Scott Fishbowl shirts there, hats, concert tees. It's a really great thing. And thank you everybody
Yes,
for showing
thank you,
up,
everybody.
talking Scott Fishbowl. Thank you, Scott Fish, for throwing the
Yeah.
Scott Fishbowl every year.
Hell yeah.
I'm
I'm so glad to be in it this year.
helping with it. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. This is awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Catch
Good night,
you on the
everybody.
other side.